Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I've been a practitioner of JIN SHIN JYUTSU and a teacher of self-help for some 30 years. I was blessed to learn from, initially at least, from the very first organizer for JIN SHIN JYUTSU in England, Edith Campbell. Welcome anyone who's completely new to JIN SHIN JYUTSU. JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of harmonizing the life energy, which is sometimes called chi or ki, as it moves through the body, congruently or not. And it was brought to the West by Mary Eno Burmeister back in the 1970s, who had learned the art from her teacher, Jiro Morai. It's a very simple but effective art, and how we balance or harmonize to energize our energy is by placing our hands, palm side, fingers, tips of fingers, back of hand, thumbs, on what we call in JIN SHIN JYUTSU safety energy locks. They are the equivalent of what acupuncturists use, except they're much wider. They're the width of your individual palm of your hand, and there's only 26 of them, whereas in traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture, there's hundreds of them, and they're much smaller. And there's 26, as I say, left and right of the spine and in the arms. And when we place arms, fingers, and thumbs on these energy locks, usually 2 at a time. By the way, if you don't have one hand, that's okay. The other will work. What happens is the energy field will activate the energy lock, so you can feel the energy on your body. Anyway, we place our connection, what Mary would call, thank you, Lisa, our jumper cables on the body battery. We are said to be bioelectrical beings, as what is being or has been researched, I believe, in Russia and in other countries, that we in fact do have electrical currents running through our body. And most people know that when they rub their hands together, they might get a spark. Well, if that's not electricity, tell me what it is. So we are light bulbs, yes, Yona. And when we're fully lit up, we have energy moving congruently down the front of our body in positive spirals, and up the back in positive spirals, positive clockwise spirals, and in and through and around, if you like, all the organs through energy pathways, which we call organ function pathways. Now, today I'm going to complete my overview, if you like, of third depth and bring in the liver function energy, which is under the control, if you like, or oversight of the constellation of Pisces. And, you know, in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, like a lot of Oriental understandings of energy, energy above us affects energy below us. It's like the macrocosm affects the microcosm, and vice versa, or as above, so below. And that is reflected in the body. Those of you that have studied JIN SHIN JYUTSU in some depth will know that energy locks above the waist can affect projects.
All right, well, I'm going to go get dressed in case anybody comes to the door.
Whoever that is, I'm going to go around and mute you all if you don't. Here we go. All right, good enough. So where was I? Yes, as above, so below. And, you know, in that sense, we can talk about that principle of push and pull, which I investigated or shared with you back when, 3 weeks back, when we were talking about how we could do the first step of a flow or the last step of a flow to help move the energy. The first should be last and the last should be first. The principle being that the first step of a energy function flow, such as the liver, will give your chi or ki a little push to move it through the track, through the pathway, and the last step will give it a little pull, push-pull. You could say that it's creating a magnetic field. Yes, it is. And our hands allow that energy to do that push and pull by the placement. And apparently Jiro Murai understood the placement of hands according to those principles of magnetism and directionality. Anyway, happy St. Paddy's Day, represented also by the green clovers, 4-leaf or 3-leaf, I think for Ireland perhaps. And of course, green is the color of third depth, spring. And it began, that whole energy field began evolving, expanding back in February when Aquarius moved in, or was it January the 21st? The constellation of Aquarius moved in, which governs gallbladder. And then from March to, let's get it right, Terry, February the 21st to March the 21st, we have Pisces, which governs the liver. So we were talking about how third depth in the order of creation creates all the other organ functions in the body. We said it's fed by 6 depths, and we talked about the umbilicus and the diaphragm as moving energy up and down the body, and then feeding the liver, which then feeds or creates all the other organ function flows. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, they talk about the liver energy as representing, or third depth energy, binding the soul. The liver is often represented or understood to be the soul. I'm going to suggest something here which I didn't particularly hear from Mary or, as I recall, any other JIN SHIN JYUTSU teacher or practitioner. I'm going to suggest to you that the 6th depth, main central, umbilicus, diaphragm, as it receives the energy of the 7th depth light, is bringing in the universal soul. That is the whole expansion of light, the universal light, as it comes down from, in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, the 8th depth source, or the dot, which is the reflection of the 9th depth, which is the no thing or the space. Space begets the source, the dot begets the 7th depth, raining down this umbrella of light, which then is focused into the spine to become the 6th depth. I'm going to suggest to you that that's the universal soul, the light that always was and exists and is pure. But as it denses down further and becomes third depth liver in the order of creation, that is our, wait for it, reincarnating soul. Why do I think that? Because as the liver is creating all those other organ functions in the body, why is it that some of us have issues with all those different manifestations, maybe with our lungs, or maybe with our stomach or spleen, or all the different elements that make up the organ functions? But why is it that that pure light in the 6th depth, as it manifests through to the 3rd, brings with it potentially the reincarnating soul? And the reincarnating soul potentially brings with it our blockages, which we reincarnate again to receive the 7th depth, 6th depth light to be purified. And so the journey goes on as the circle of the order of creation via the reincarnating soul of the liver goes through all those different elements, the lungs, large intestine, the heart, small intestine, as they're all manifested, they come with their program. Like I say, that's possibly why some people come with more blockages than others because it's from before, it's from the past, it's brought in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, it's the left. And then we learn by placing our hands on these safety energy locks how to release some of those blocks. By the way, some of those blocks are at the soul level, some of them are at the mind level, and some of them are at the body level. And often the most difficult ones to harmonize are those ones at the body-mind level. Our thinking has created resistance to life, to growth, to expansion. Is that our fault? Well, we have ancestors as well. We're all here to learn. And, you know, JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of compassion. So be compassionate with yourself when you come into a life, which I happen to believe in. You may not believe in a past life, a present life, or a future life in that order. You may believe in the present life, but you may not believe in that trilogy. Well, third depth gives that triumvirate idea, moving from the past to the present to the future, the essence of our being. Just play with that idea, explore, see how it feels with you, reflect on what's happening in your life. And as we expand our consciousness into the spring of our life and the energy moves up, back of the spine, down the front, the liver energy comes in to generate and create everything else and help us purify everything else in an incarnated manifesting sense. If you're not still with me, I'm not surprised because I don't know where I am either. Sometimes I just move off, and I apologize if it's confusing. I'll do my best to clarify as we go along. And there's a replay. And if you have any questions later, then you can always ask. And if I'm still where I am right now, I'll see if I can fish. By the way, Pisces is the fish. See if I can, you know, put out the fishing rod and pull in some reasonably clear understanding. So the liver flow. The first should be last, the last should be first. I want you, as always, to be your uniquely individual self and make a choice whether you choose a left flow, which is bringing in ancestral energy, or a right flow, which is bringing in who you are today, by exploring the first and last steps of the liver flow. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to check left side, first step, left side, last step, right side, first step, and last step, and see which one of those feels fuller than the others. And that, my friends, is usually a good indication that that flow needs help. It needs a little push or a pull to move the energy. Are you still with me? So let us begin with that. And as we explore energy, I like to practice the movement of energy with what Mary taught, the 36 breaths. And we do that in 4 sets of 9 inhalations. 9 represents end of a cycle, beginning of a new. So after every 9th breath, the dimension of energy is changing. The frequency and vibration is different. Unless you're resisting like mad and you're holding on like mad and you want to stay where you are, if you follow. So let us begin, and there'll be 4 sets of 9, and you'll choose the left liver flow or the right liver flow. And then we're going to choose something from the self-help book 3 in this case, harmonizing the liver, gallbladder, third depth energy through using the middle finger. And we'll choose to do 9 breaths with either the left or the right middle finger, first palm side, and then back side. Palm side representing descending, back side representing ascending. So in total, 36 breaths. All right. So let us begin. Here we go. Yes, eventually. So if you're going to do the left liver flow, put your left hand on left 4. For those of you that are completely new, it's the occiput bone at the base of the skull. So your left hand there. And your right hand under the right shoulder girdle. Safety energy lock 22. Yeah, isn't that funny? 2 and 2 is 4 and 4. So we're maybe enhancing the life energy as it enters here through the 4s and expanding it as it directs itself to 144,000 special function energy. So that's the first step, all right, of the left flow, liver organ function energy. The last step, the right hand's going to grab the left pad of the thumb, and then the left hand's going to go to the right safety energy lock 4. All right, let's do that again. That's the first step. This is the last step. Right goes to the left 18, and that goes to there. So we've got the push and we've got the pull. All right. If you don't want to do the left flow, then you can try the right flow. Put the right hand on the right coccyx, safety energy 4. Left hand here on the left 22, and then left hand to right. There it is, pad, it's safety energy lock 18, pad of the thumb. And the right hand goes to the left 4. All right. So play with that. I'll give you 5 seconds. And choose which one you think of those steps is the flow that you want to work with today. And I'm personally going to choose the left, which represents the past. And as the energy moves into the body, it moves in from the left side. And I'm going to do 9 exhalation inhalations, just holding this position. As I say, you can do that one. You can do that. All right, here we go. And how we do an exhalation inhalation is no particular in through the nose, out through the mouth, but we do begin with an exhale. And we move that energy as it happens from a 4, the 4, safety energy on 4, all the way down, spiraling through the waistline, hip line 15, all the way down to our big toe, the 7. And then the energy moves up in a positive spiral all the way back up. At the same time, as it's doing that, we're holding here so that some of that energy spirals there, connects there to unblock, to release, to transfer energy between. And an exhale followed by an inhale is natural. Or if exhaling isn't natural, then make it conscious. And you exhale head to toe, holding these safety energy locks. And you naturally inhale. And that, my friends, is 1 breath. An exhale and an inhale, 1 breath. Okay, let's do 9 of those. Here we go. And as you're exhaling, you're letting go of that which you no longer need in order to build something you do want. And on the inhale, cosmic purified energy moves up the spine, purifying us. And again, it's making, that energy is making a connection between the left and right hand, wherever you've placed it for the first step of the liver flow. And for those of you that are familiar with JIN SHIN JYUTSU, self-help, or just JIN SHIN JYUTSU, you're listening to the energy pulse. And you're listening for energy pulsing in both hands at each place on the body. And the pulse will feel like the pulse of the radial artery in your wrist. And you may say, well, that's the blood pulse. Well, yes, perhaps it is initially because the blood follows the energy. But as you leave your hands there, the energy will spiral from skin to bone, bone to skin, through the safety energy lock. And eventually you will connect the energetic level, the energetic dimension. Don't concern yourself if you do not feel these pulses at first. For some of us, it will take a little longer than others. Don't get into any kind of worry or anxiety. That'll just make it even harder. Just allow the breath to follow its route, follow its pathway. And as it does that, the breath representing the light will push some of those blocks away. Sometimes when our liver function energy is out of whack, we get a little frustrated, irritated. Like every other attitude. It's okay to experience it. It's just a question of degree and how long you hold on to it. Some people make a bogeyman out of anger. I disagree. I think anger is that very powerful force which can be harmonized. We don't want to burn ourselves. So when someone yells at us to take our hands out of the fire, they might be helping us. So there's this aspect of, if you like, righteous indignation. It's like a stimulus to action. We all sat there thinking, well, everything's fine. At one level, that's probably true. But maybe there's something we need to do as well to become, and that liver energy will spark us, push that energy up the shoot of the plant, as it were, in spring, get us to activate third depth is an activating principle. So convert your frustration to stimulation. Allow that third depth liver energy to activate you. Now, the last step of the liver function energy, as I said, you're simply going to take the hand that's under your shoulder girdle and hold the pad, the thumb that's on the safety engine lock 4, and move that hand across to the other 4. Just cover both occipitals. This may be a little uncomfortable to hold if you've got any shoulder issues. So if that's the case, then just relax that 4 and hold the pad of the thumb for now, and then go back to the 4 when it feels comfortable. So we're now going to do 9 exhalation inhalations with the last step. And see if you can notice the difference between the first and the last step. Which was easiest for you in terms of how quickly the energy moved? Maybe you needed both. Maybe not. And these exhalations, we're just releasing, as I said, what we don't want anymore in order to build what we do. Purifying and cleansing. Those of you that are new, you can do these self-help flows sitting, standing, or laying down. So when you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, just pause, relax. And observe. How did that feel? Would it be something that you want to do regularly for a while? Just note how you feel. By the way, as I mentioned earlier, some of you might have found this a little awkward. I naturally found my thumb touching my ring finger, which is actually a mudra to expand the thoracic cavity, and it's also where safety energy lock 4 can be harmonized on fingers. So you could do that as well. Hold the pad and then have your thumb hold the ring fingernail. Be the artist. All right, for the remaining 18 exhalation inhalations, we're going to hold the middle finger, which is representative in the body, at least, of harmonizing the depth and liver gallbladder. And in Mary Burmeister's Self-Help Book 3, she gives finger pose number 1 and 2, holding the middle finger. And the first one is holding the palm side, which helps energy descend, by the way. And then having the thumb over the backside of the middle finger. And you know, even though it was never published, Mary must have understood that the middle finger representation was extremely important, because there was a self-help book 4, which was totally dedicated to the middle finger. I've seen it, but I don't have a copy of it. It was never published. The middle finger actually has a connection with, here in the center of the palm, umbilicus, diaphragm, safety angel lock 26, how 6th depth personal source, as it's coming in from the 7th depth, which we know feeds 3rd depth liver gallbladder. So you could, while you're holding the palm side, put your thumb in the center of the palm of the hand, and that'll feed the liver gallbladder energy straight from 6th depth. So here we go, 9 exhalation inhalations. See if you can feel that as the energy is circulating, spiraling through you, that you're feeling the connection between heaven, the head, and your feet to the earth. It's all very well to have great ideas, but if we can't bring them into manifestation at the earth dimension, they stay in our head. They stay in our thoughts. So we're emptying out in order to be filled. And we're building the new. So when you reach the ninth exhalation, inhalation, just pause, observe, witness how you're feeling, where you're feeling. The key word being feeling. And then either choosing left or right middle finger. We're going to place the thumb at the back of the middle finger in order to accentuate the ascending energy, allowing that energy to move, purify up the energy centers of the spine, up the back. Here we go, 9 exhalation inhalations. So your toes, soles of your feet connecting to the earth, feeling the support of Mother Nature, Mother Earth, as replenishing, rejuvenating, recycled energy, cosmically purified, moves up the leg. Actually, it's all one, you know, there isn't at a certain dimension, there isn't a heaven or an earth, there's just a oneness. There's just an energy that is. We're in it, we just forgot. So we're learning to remember our oneness. And when you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, completion, just sit comfortably and observe. Observe how you feel. And when I was growing up, there was a derogatory statement where if someone was rather loud, you would hear someone might say, empty vessels make the most sound. I would say empty vessels allow the most sound to be channeled or conducted through us. And although this, again, was not a statement that I heard Mary say, it certainly was something I did hear another JIN SHIN JYUTSU instructor suggest, that our 8th depth source, that dot which begat the 7th, which begat the 6th, could be seen to represent sound. Or in some traditions, the Om, sometimes spelled O-M, sometimes A-U-M, the sound of a very elevated level of consciousness, the source from which we came. So when we empty ourselves out, we offer ourselves a chance to be cleaned and to conduct more of that universal light into our liver to clean up perhaps the past, if you believe in reincarnation, as the energy spirals through the order of creation. So that's why we continue with JIN SHIN JYUTSU every day, if we can, when we can, because it's a journey of continuous purification, letting go and building, allowing the chi essence energy to purify us, to expand our awareness, so that we become more harmonized and therefore potentially energized. And if you were new or are new, this may be something that you would like to continue. And I'm here pretty much every Friday, except when I'm not. In a week, I'll be off on a trip, but I've got my cover. Beth Landrum's going to step into my shoes. But next week, we do have another mystery presenter, and I will be there for that, or here for that, here, there, and everywhere. And the following week, when Beth Landrum steps into my shoes, there will be another mystery presenter too. So hang on in there. There's plenty of goodies to come, I believe. So how are you all feeling? If anyone wants to say anything, I'll have a look in the chat room. Ah, thank you, Manjita. Yona. Okay, Yona, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of wind here.
A lot of wind. Oh, very third depth.
Yeah. Wow, this class was amazing.
Your reward is in heaven. Yeah, carry on.
I felt like I was at some revivalist church, because let me tell you, I was on my massage table and I had so much shaking. Like I felt like I was in one of those TRE classes or something. Like
TRE, what's that?
Trauma release
Okay.
exercises. And I was just like, I was amazed how much like shaking my body was doing. It was actually incredible. But also like Cirque du Soleil, like I was amazed how my body rearranged itself when I had to catch the 18 at the back. I was like, it was really cool. I just love this. I feel totally interesting right now. So I'm going to be seeing what it's like in the next 8 hours, but I'm feel different standing up.
Well, thank you. Did you notice any difference when we did the last step as opposed to continue with the first step? How did
Oh
the
yeah.
energy feel? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I definitely well, I noticed when I was holding the third finger, I did both hands on both sides. The shaking definitely stopped a bit. And then at the end, I just put my hands together and it just kind of subsided completely. But I was just amazed, like, releasing.
Yeah. So anyone who's new, that's not necessarily very common, but as the body harmonizes, it may shake or tremble. Things like that do happen. So thank you for bringing that up, Yona. Don't be over concerned. You can always stop doing what you were doing.
Oh, I wasn't concerned. I have this kind of stuff happen in meditation, and
Right.
I know that it's the body discharging, and I know when I have to like cool it. So it's,
No, I mean, for people who are experienced with energy release, they may well continue, let the process go through. And I would encourage that if they're familiar. And always, remember, especially new folks, you can accentuate the exhale with JIN SHIN JYUTSU. So if all of a sudden, as you've let go and all this fresher energy is moving in and your body is reacting, exhale is another way of calming things down as well. So you don't want to necessarily feel, well, I got to complete my 9th breath. No, but I have also said from time to time that maybe 36 breaths isn't enough and you're not feeling anything. So you could carry on the process with multiples of 9 up to 108 and beyond. But be wise, witness what's going on with your body, and just common sense. Do whatever, feels natural, right, and what you're familiar with. And I always have a bottle of water. I don't always show everyone that I'm drinking it. I normally start it before I start the Harmonize webinar. So you can cool the fire of the body, because often when there's trembling, there's a lot of fire. And the liver energy going up the shoot of the plant in spring. That's the chi essence shooting up. That's a representation of the liver energy. So it's like safety engine number 1 in a way. It's very primal. So thank you for that feedback. Is there anybody else that's got any questions or raising their hand? If you did raise your hand, if you want to unmute yourself, or if you didn't. No, you didn't. Okay.
Well, I put it in the chat, but I just thought it was really interesting. You were talking about, the ancestral versus the current, and my left side felt very congested, and my current side, like it felt at first, it just felt like uncomfortable, and then it's like, well, okay. What about it? Well, it was very congested. And then my right side felt very uncomfortable, but it felt uncomfortable because it was empty. And given that I'm working on chronic fatigue, that was pretty interesting. And then when I was holding the fingers, a friend of mine who died a number of years ago came up, and I was at first I was just feeling sad, and there was tears, and sometimes I just get tears for a physical release, unrelated to sadness. But then the thought of this person came up, and the sadness around that. So I was interested.
Well, welcome, Janice. I know you've recently, you're a long-term JIN SHIN student, aren't you?
Yeah, I started many years ago and then finished the first complete 5-day training more recently.
Yeah. So, at the lumbar circle level, that the liver can act as an escape route for the kidney. and kidney bladder, and generally with the gallbladder involved. And so that can, release old primal memories, prenatal memories for a start. The kidney holds that prenatal energy, and it can manifest in tears. And of course, again, on the lumbar circle, it energizes the lungs, which could, bring some thoughts of sadness. And by the way, folks, it's all good. To experience our emotions is really healthy. And I said I don't totally make a bogeyman out of anger, because I think, it can stimulate change, because maybe we're frustrated about something. It's a question of what we do with that frustration. Do we move it to the next level of action in a harmonious way? And again, on the lumbar circle, the liver supports the heart. So maybe we get stimulated to do something or remember something which was uncomfortable, bring it out through the lung and to the heart. Yeah. And allow it to become peaceful before you act. Often what happens, we learn with anger in particular, there's a tendency to just lash out, either physically or verbally. That's not necessarily healthy, but I'm not going to judge what action in the moment is one thing or another, because there's more things going on in this world than these eyes can see. When you go beyond this level to stimulate the third eye, there are dimensions and causes and effects and laws of creation that most of us are not familiar with. And that's why I think we're asked not to judge, because there is a bigger picture. It doesn't mean we don't act. It doesn't mean we don't do our best to prevent unnecessary pain, because there are certain types of pain which do appear to be totally unnecessary. But it's a whole philosophical discussion there. But when things come up, yeah, you may want to sit with them. You may want to grieve a memory. You may, and then let it go. Just let it go then. And if it reoccurs, listen, yeah, and then let it go. And eventually, unless there's something else you need to learn, it'll move through you, and a space is created. The ninth depth is space. The space is created for the next thing to evolve. And again, that's another reason for doing 9 depths. We create 9 breaths. We create more space, and transformation can happen more easily when there's more space. Is that making sense? Is that helpful, Janice?
Yes, that is. Thank you.
Yeah. The past from the left side, as we bring in ancestral energy, or as I suggested, maybe our reincarnating soul, is the past. Bring it into the present, clean it up a bit, move it on. I'm not saying, by the way, folks, that it's necessarily comfortable. I'm not saying it's necessarily easy, but we have the breath, we have our fingers, we have our safety energy locks, all 26 of them, and we have each other. And when we connect like this in a webinar, we have a field. And although I didn't mention it this time, and we haven't actually got to that point, I like to always draw things, hellish at times. Yes, Yana. I like to draw things to a conclusion by feeling that connection between all of us in our hearts. JIN SHIN JYUTSU is, after all, an art of compassion. And just connect with everyone in the circle now, all of us. And I want to thank you all for being here today and sharing your energy, really. And let's just connect quietly. You can place your hands palm side out if you wish, thumbs connected, and just allow the jumper cable energy to come through, as it does, through the solar plexus into your arms and into your hands. And just feel that connection with everybody in the circle of light or life. The Lion King is actually one of my favorite movies. And then just feel we're all connected.
Brand new, right out of the package.
Okay. So I hope you will feel more harmonized, at least. Or if there's a little bit of a rough energy still, just continue on if you can after this webinar and just breathe out again and maybe do 9 exhalation inhalations. Feel your ground beneath your feet. And allow yourself to simply be in that energy. All right, folks, I will put up the replay as soon as possible, probably today. And as I say, next week I will be here. That'll be the last week before I go on vacation with a mystery presenter. So if you have any friends who are interested, please let them know. Oh, and a shout out, and I have written to you all individually. Thank you very much from my heart for the love offerings that some of you have generously given. I do appreciate that. So thank you for that donation. And until next time, have a beautiful rest of the day, a peaceful rest of the day, a harmonious rest of the day. The operative word may be rest for you, then go ahead and rest. Absolutely, Manjita, allowing being the observer and the artist. And I will see you hopefully.
Have a nice weekend and thank you so much.